Hello and welcome to another episode of the 365 Fitness Podcast. Just me on my own today. I am going to talk to you all about probably one of the things that we hear most about people, especially starting out at the gym, but also for people that have maybe been coming for a little while. The line that we hear a lot is, "I just don't have time." And I get it. Life's busy. Everyone's got loads of things going on, and there never seems to be enough time to do anything. Um, so what I'm going to go through today is just getting people to have a little think about what they do day to day and, how many hours there is in the day. Realistically, how many of those how many of those hours are spent at work, doing various kind of bits of childcare, caring for other family members, all of those commitments that we all have. They look different for everybody. And they take different amounts of time for everybody. And then looking at what you are doing in the times where you're not necessarily committed to doing something. And so all of those things that we all do, we're all guilty of when we are sat and things like doom scrolling, everything like that. We'll have a little talk around that. Talk about the limitations to people's kind of time as well. Like I've previously mentioned, we all have commitments. So, you have to think about those things and thinking a little bit about priorities. And then just to finish, we'll talk about a few different kind of tips and things that maybe I've tried, I've heard other people try that might just, help you to find a bit more time to maybe commit to your health and fitness. So the first thing I want you to kind of think about is day to day, depending on the hours you work and, what your week looks like, you might find on different days you have different amount of time spent doing different things. So, thinking about, for example, if I'm at work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I finish at 2 o'clock, I then need to think about what I'm doing with the rest of my time, which is a short time before I then pick the children up and go off to do various clubs, drop-offs, ferrying them here, there and everywhere. So I need to think about my time and how I'm going to use those little pockets of time that I might get, in the evening throughout the day, and just making the most of them. And what sort of things do you find that you're doing in those times where you're not necessarily working or driving or, doing all of those things that you need to do? I would say the top one that everyone pretty much is guilty of is that whole doom scrolling. And it is amazing how much time we can waste just scrolling through our phone. Social media is so addictive, especially because it's all kind of fast paced, all you've got to do is swipe up and you've got something new to look at and interesting and exciting. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a real place for that. You can find a lot of really informative videos, whether you're interested in fitness or you're interested in cute dogs or you're interested in funny memes or any kind of sport, anything really. You can find a video on social media. The problem we have is that we then get stuck into that rabbit hole of scrolling through, and it's very clever. The algorithm knows exactly what we want and it just keeps giving us more. So then we want more. And before you know it, we've all been there. Half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour has passed and you have been sat there on your phone. So that's one kind of thing that I hear a lot about. Watching TV. Yeah, watching TV is, for a lot of people, a really nice way to decompress at the end of the day. And sometimes people watch telly for like informative things. Sometimes they watch it just to completely switch off. I'm very guilty of watching a lot of crap just because I don't have to think about it. And that, for some people, can be a really nice way of kind of winding down at the end of the day. And I'm not saying don't sit and watch telly. We've got to be realistic that although I'm mentioning these things of, maybe the things that we're doing in these pockets of time that we might have, they'll have a place, but it's just something to think about and really think carefully about how much of your time you are spending doing these things. And if you're happy and content with the amount of time you're spending watching telly, I'm not going to tell you to stop. But it's just sometimes it's not until someone asks you how long you're actually doing something for that you think, yeah, like I do spend an hour a day at least looking at my phone. And it's always that screen time notification that comes up, which I love and I hate. I love because it reminds me that I'm probably spending too much time on my phone, and I hate it because it reminds me how much time I'm spending on my phone. But yeah, those sorts of things, it's really easy to not even realize how much time you're spending. Another one, and I would say specifically for those who are maybe taking kids to kids clubs, and the session lasts 45 minutes, an hour, and you just sit in your car and you wait for the kid in the car. Or, if you're watching football or another sport, you might just stand on the sidelines. Don't get me wrong, I spend a large amount of my time in the evenings standing on the side of a football pitch. And I use that time to socialise. So I'm really lucky that the parents in my son's football team are lovely, and we've become friends. So it's a real nice time to socialise, have that social interaction. No phone, because I'm chatting to people. Some people use it for time to work, but some people do just sit in their car. And just thinking, is that really good use of your time? It's a question. It's not me saying, no, it's not good use of your time, or yes, it is. Just thinking about that a little bit. And I think we all are very aware of wasting our time, doing things that don't serve us. And we all, are regularly reminded of our time is limited, and we don't want to waste that time that we've got. So those are probably the main things that people will kind of say, this is how I spend my time. And then obviously there is those limitations that you've got childcare. If you're thinking about trying to fit something into your day, it's not always just yourself you have to think about. You have to think about family, partners, children, pets, all sorts of, different things that you are committed to doing. So you have to factor that in. It just means you need to be a little bit more savvy with your time. If you feel like you have less time, you just need to be a bit more savvy with it and just be able to prioritize things probably a little bit more. Working, that is a limitation for a lot of people, depending on how you work. If you work kind of a very standard 9 to 5 or any kind of specific hours, you are committed to your work in that time. That probably isn't time that you have to be, going to the gym. More and more people are now factoring in going to the gym in their day. So they might come and train on their lunch break. They might come in and train in the morning and then work a little bit later. I think with that flexibility that people have now a little bit more in working hours, people can do that a bit more. And that is a great way of fitting in your training without it eating into your morning or your evening. So without you having to get up that hour earlier or having to go to the gym after work. So if you find that you can fit it into your day, whether that means lunch break, whatever that might mean, that is a really good way. And actually, I think it really helps people to focus a little bit more. If you're having that break away from the desk, away from just sitting, staring at a screen, lots of people say that, especially those that come in at lunchtime, that they feel that they are a bit more energized, ready for the afternoon. You don't get that afternoon kind of slump. So yeah, that is kind of an idea if you're thinking about how you can fit it into your day. One thing that I would say about kind of going back to that whole sitting in the car whilst you're waiting for somebody, use that time to go for a 20-minute walk, go for a quick run, whatever it might be. Moving is going to be a better option than just sitting there. So quite often in the summer, more, I must say, not so much the winter, there is one of my son's football training sessions a week. I will go for a run. And actually, I say that to the other parents that are there. I turn up, I'm in my running gear, and I'm like, I'm going for a run tonight. And, they're always really encouraging and being like, oh, aren't you good? But actually, if I'm committing to it, I'm saying it to them, I've got to do it because I'm going to look a bit stupid if I don't. So using that time that maybe you would normally just sit and doom scroll, just get up, go for a 20-minute walk. If you turn up early to school pickup, instead of sitting in the car, go for a little bit of a walk around near the school so you're never that far away, and just make the most of those little pockets of time. If you don't feel that you have an hour to give to work out or to go to a gym, then 20 minutes at a time is perfect. you can get a lot of benefits from a 20-minute workout or a 20-minute walk, 20-minute run, whatever it might be. That's all you need, 20 minutes. And if you can start committing to giving that 20 minutes, whether it's 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes 3 times a week, it's all going to help. So don't try and go, okay, this week I'm going to go to the gym for an hour 5 times. If you're just starting out, it's just not realistic, and you're just going to end up hurting because you've not got time to recover, and you're just going to end up hating it and then not want to do it. So it's getting that balance right, starting small. Walking while you wait, which I've just mentioned, is another thing that I would really think about. Get those steps in. An early workout. Like, I know that not everybody is an early bird. So the thought of getting up and training at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, some people are just like, absolutely not. But realistically, if you are super busy, and you are working 9 to 5 and then your evenings are full of other things, you need to make changes if you want to change. If nothing changes in your routine, nothing will change. So it might be that actually you have to get up that bit earlier, go train, set yourself up for the day, and you might be surprised at how much you actually start to enjoy it. And the great thing about training early is you almost forget that you've done it. So it gets to the evening and you're like, I've already trained today, but you've almost forgotten that it's happened. And if you're here super early, you're not necessarily awake enough anyway, so you just kind of do it, and then you're gone, and you're like, oh, it's already happened. I've ticked that off the list, and you feel a sense of achievement. So it is something to really think about if you're really looking for those little pockets of time. Getting up an hour earlier. It's hard at this time of year when it's dark, but it gets easier as you get into those summer months. If you're someone who trains in the evening, don't go home, go straight to the gym. So if you finish work at 5, book yourself on for a 5:30 session, go straight to the gym. Don't think, oh, I'll just nip home and I'll just go get changed, because in that journey home, you will have thought of 1,000 reasons why you don't want to go to the gym that day. Oh, I'm too tired. I haven't eaten enough. There's so many things that you'll think and go through your head. If you go straight to the gym, so you've got your gym clothes in the car, straight to the gym, get changed. If you need to have a coffee when you get here, have a quick coffee and then get into your session. Then you can go home and you have ticked the box again. Another thing that I would think about is actually it's prioritizing time for your health and fitness. And we all have different priorities in life. And some people, for them, health and fitness isn't a priority. If it's not a priority, then it's not going to happen. So it needs to become a priority. It needs to become the norm, and you need to get into a routine of when you're training. We are creatures of habit, and we like to do things, the same routine each week, each day, whatever it might be. So yeah, I think it's a slightly harsh truth, but you have to prioritize it. You have to book it in like it's a meeting, and you have to commit. And it doesn't take long for you to build that habit, and you will start feeling that it's just a normal routine for you. But I think that, yeah, if you want to do it, you've got to commit, and you've got to say, okay, looking after my health and my fitness for my longevity of life, my enjoyment of life is a priority for me, and I'm going to commit. So yeah, takeaways from today, I would say make sure that you are thinking about how you're spending your time. If you need to write it down, even have like a few days where you almost do like a timetable of the day and how you're spending those hours. Don't spend loads of time scrolling and wasting that time doing things that aren't going to serve you. Prioritize your health and your fitness, and have a look at how it can fit into your routine, your schedule, and you might have to change that schedule to make it a priority. But believe me, when you do make it a priority, you will be forever thankful for it. I think I've touched on everything that I was going to, and it was nice speaking to you all, and we'll see you soon.